Imagine a world where the great tide of history turned just slightly, sending ripples across centuries and reshaping the very soul of a continent. A world where Islam, instead of Christianity, became the guiding light of Europe, its faith, its philosophy, its science, and its culture. Let us begin our journey far back in the 7th century, when the Arabian Peninsula stirred with a new message. Islam emerged under the leadership of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, uniting tribes that had long been at odds and igniting an energy of faith, learning, and expansion that spread rapidly across deserts and seas alike. Within a few short decades, Islamic rule stretched from the sands of Arabia to the fertile lands of the Middle East and the coasts of North Africa. Scholars, traders, poets, and conquerors carried not just armies, but ideas that would shape civilizations from Morocco to India. In our actual timeline, Muslim forces crossed into the Iberian Peninsula in 711 CE, led by Tariq ibn Ziyad. They swept through Spain and Portugal, establishing the magnificent civilization of Al-Andalus, a beacon of science, art, and tolerance in a turbulent medieval world. Yet this expansion stopped at the formidable barrier of the Pyrenees Mountains. There, at the Battle of Tours in 732, the Frankish leader Charles Martel defeated the Umayyad forces and halted their advance into mainland Europe. But what if that single battle had ended differently? What if Charles Martel had fallen, his army scattered, and the road north flung open for the Umayyads to march further into Frankish lands? Imagine Muslim banners flying over the fortresses of Aquitaine, the fertile plains of France, and the bustling trade towns along the Rhine and Danube. Imagine Paris not as the heart of medieval Christendom, but as an Islamic metropolis, rivaling Cordoba or Baghdad in grandeur. To understand this alternate past, we must remember Europe's reality at that time. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century, Europe was a patchwork of warring tribes and fragile kingdoms. Christianity had begun to spread, but vast regions still clung to old pagan beliefs. Political instability, shifting alliances, and frequent invasions left the continent vulnerable. In this alternate timeline, instead of Christian monks crossing forests to convert Germanic tribes, Islamic scholars and traders crossed the Pyrenees, offering not only faith, but the wealth of knowledge, trade, and a sophisticated legal system. Wow! Picture the Umayyad Caliphate extending its influence deep into France, eventually reaching the British Isles. London, then a modest settlement, transforms into a thriving hub of trade under Islamic rule. Minarets pierce the foggy skies of the Thames, calling the faithful to prayer as bustling markets fill with spices, silks, and manuscripts from distant lands. In Vienna and Prague, the architecture tells a new story, one of domes and courtyards, mosaic tiles, and delicate arabesques. In this Islamic Europe, daily life would look strikingly different. The transfer of ancient Greek philosophy, Indian mathematics, and Persian astronomy, which historically flowed into Europe much later through translations in Spain and Sicily, would arrive centuries earlier, woven seamlessly into local learning. Universities flourish in Paris, London, and Cologne, connected through vast networks of scholars who debate Aristotle, Al-Farabi, and Ibn Sina under candlelit halls lined with Arabic manuscripts. Instead of waiting for the spark of the Renaissance in the 14th century, Europe's scientific and philosophical flowering begins in the 9th or 10th century. Innovations in medicine, optics, and engineering accelerate. Libraries rivaling Baghdad's House of Wisdom emerge on the banks of the Seine and the Thames. The Latin language, instead of dominating medieval academia, yields to Arabic as the common tongue of scholarship and diplomacy. Culturally, Europe's cathedrals are replaced with grand mosques, adorned with calligraphy and intricate geometric patterns. Public baths, lush gardens, and bazaars define urban life. Local traditions blend with Islamic aesthetics, creating unique hybrids. Celtic knotwork intertwined with Arabic calligraphy. Norse sagas retold with Islamic moral themes. Music and poetry reflect this fusion. Bards sing verses inspired by Rumi and Hafiz alongside local legends. Politically, a united or loosely allied Islamic Europe might have avoided centuries of feudal fragmentation. The constant power struggles between dukes, kings, and the church could have given way to provinces under a larger caliphate or confederation of Muslim kingdoms. Without the dominance of the Roman Catholic Church, the bitter wars of religion that scarred Europe from the Crusades to the Inquisition, might never ignite. Instead of sending knights to recapture Jerusalem, European Muslims might protect it as a sacred city within a broader Islamic realm, welcoming pilgrims and traders alike. The global age of exploration takes on an entirely new face. Islamic Europe, deeply connected with North Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, already commands established trade routes to India and China. Columbus might never sail under the Spanish crown seeking a western passage to Asia. Perhaps an Andalusian navigator or a London-based Muslim explorer crosses the Atlantic, driven by the same curiosity but carrying the banner of Islam. The Americas could see early Muslim settlements, mosques rising along unfamiliar shores, and new cultural exchanges between Muslim colonists and indigenous peoples. Language and law evolve too. European languages borrow heavily from Arabic, shaping vocabularies, legal systems, and poetry. Sharia law blends with local customs, creating legal codes that reflect both Islamic principles and European traditions. Courts settle disputes using a mixture of tribal customs and Islamic jurisprudence, adapted to local contexts in ways that preserve regional identities. But this alternate Europe would not be without challenges. Vast territories, diverse peoples, and multiple schools of Islamic thought would create tensions. Distant regions like Scandinavia might resist total assimilation, forging hybrid faiths or sects that merge Old Norse deities with Islamic mysticism. The Byzantine Empire, still strong in the east, could become a stubborn Christian bulwark, perhaps even an ally to Christian minorities in Western Europe hoping to reclaim influence. In this world, the modern map of Europe is unrecognizable. Paris and London become centres of Islamic finance and culture, rivaling Cairo and Istanbul. Scientific revolutions, industrial advances, and global trade flourish sooner, driven by constant connections with the wider Islamic world. Colonial ambitions could unfold differently. Instead of carving up Africa and Asia under Christian empires, Islamic Europe might expand through trade, alliances, and more peaceful integration, though conflicts and rivalries would certainly still exist. The balance of power with Asia shifts too. Rather than centuries of rivalry and colonial exploitation, an Islamic Europe might foster deeper ties with India and China, creating an interconnected super network of trade and scholarship spanning from the Atlantic to the Pacific. Fast forward to today, Europe's skylines shimmer with domes and minarets alongside medieval castles. Streets echo with the call to prayer as easily as local folk songs. Ramadan is celebrated with the same festive spirit that Christmas holds in our timeline. Food, dress, and literature reflect centuries of cultural blending. An Irish poet might quote Rumi, alongside Yeats. A French architect might design homes with Andalusian courtyards in the heart of Paris. Alternate history reminds us how fragile our reality is. One lost battle, one successful treaty, one unexpected alliance. These moments shape the destinies of entire continents. If Islam had taken root before Christianity across Europe, the story of human civilization would have woven a different tapestry, neither wholly better nor worse, but richly fascinating and deeply different. So in this reimagined Europe, would we be more united under a single faith, or would new divisions emerge among cultures and sects? Would scientific progress race ahead, or branch into paths we cannot predict? Would conflicts of identity and power fade, or merely wear new masks? History does not give us these answers, but by imagining the roads not taken, we glimpse the vast possibilities of our shared human story, a reminder that our world, shaped by countless choices, remains forever open to new ones.